I'm very excited to have my next guest join us. They have a new album coming out in February. It's called Boys These Days. It is the lovely folks of Sports Team.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Cheers. Welcome. Thanks a lot for your time. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, happy to be back in San Francisco under slightly nicer circumstances than we were last time we were here. But yeah, venue looks great behind us. Seeing a lot of friendly faces from the label who are based out here. So yeah, excited to be here.
Stealing my thunder here. I was just going to say we're catching you on tour, and I was going to ask you, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. We did a show in Sacramento to not very many people. We got robbed at gunpoint. Our flight was cancelled. It's been okay.
What about the earthquake? You missed that.
Yeah, we missed that
We got
just.
the tsunami warning.
I feel
so
like something's coming though. I feel like
Don't
something's
say it.
coming to get us. Yeah, there was no tsunami in the end, was there?
You made no, there was no tsunami,
that's
thank
good.
God. Yeah. But you made quite an impression landing here in the States.
Yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, held up at gunpoint. I mean, there you go. Crazy stuff.
I think the Bay Area, especially San Francisco, just really gravitates to the music that you guys make. So, like myself, we're really excited for you guys to be here. And I'm so sorry on behalf of the Bay and keeping politics outside of this. Just like, I'm so sorry. Please do come back again and don't let this deter you. I'm sure there's going to be some great stories to tell, right, Ben, during the holidays?
Yep.
And to be fair, I think our overriding sense from the experience is way more like the outreach that we've had from the community and like all of the lovely messages and kind gestures. Like that definitely overrides the trauma of the robbery at gunpoint.
Yeah. Henry, what was that first gig like in Sacramento?
Yeah, the first show, I guess it wasn't the biggest we've ever done in the States, but it was really heartening to see a lot of people who hadn't heard of our music until seeing us on the news, came out, supported us, said they were now fans, bought merch. So that was like one upside of it, which was cool.
Yeah, I've been seeing comments on your socials and on everyone's socials, news and all this stuff. Anything from folks back home? What was their message?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously one of huge shock. I mean, I guess back home it's even more kind of a bizarre incident because, you know, there are essentially next to no guns on the street. Yeah, even the police are not armed back home. So, yeah, it was mainly from home, like a real sense of shock. But yeah, obviously huge amount of support from people and, you know, amazing offers from people to kind of try and help where they can, stuff like that. But yeah, you know, everyone was okay. You know, the stuff that's stolen is replaceable.
There's a lady that
I
offers
think
free sex toys in Vallejo. That was generous. She said we could swing around the shop whenever we wanted. There would be complimentary items and some discounted.
I think it was just
probably
a
the most
discount,
generous.
actually.
It
She was
just
quite
a
clear
discount
about
she
that.
offered. That was generous.
Has
What else did we get? Was it the board of commerce in Vallejo has invited us for dinner?
the visitors board,
The visitors board. That's nice. Yeah, to give us a nicer experience for Vallejo. That could be fun. Might take them up on that offer. What else did we get offered?
Oh, but there's been so many, like people
loads of
whose
stuff.
family and distant friends are in the area and want to come down and lend us a guitar or whatever. Like it's genuinely really touching the amount of people who've been so generous and kind of like reached out.
I'm so glad. That's the real Bay Area. Never mind the nonsense and those unfortunate people that had to do this, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, there's something going on in their lives, obviously.
100%.
that-
And I think that's kind of very, very clear. You know,
Right.
you can't imagine that they're in a great place right now if they're doing that. So I don't think we hold it against them at all.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Has Subaru reached out at all?
Not yet. But
Oh,
that
come
maybe this
on.
could be the moment.
Alex? Has
I know nothing more about Subaru's involvement, I'm afraid.
They're knocking up a
Yeah.
bulletproof version, I think, at the moment.
come on, 6? They can
Yeah,
afford
that
6.
could work.
Yeah.
I reckon that could work
Right?
well.
I think it's only a matter of time, really, to be honest.
Yes,
So,
I mean it's the holiday season for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I think they could.
But
be
if
a
they
little
can only do
generous.
one, I guess, like, you know, as the queer member of the band, it's only right that that should probably fall to me. So that
Hello,
works. Yeah.
Subaru.
Yeah, but there you go.
Obviously, that's a reference to one of the new songs on the upcoming album. And a lot of people have really gravitated to, but not only that, they've also had reminders of other bands from the 80s. I think a lot of people on the YouTube comments have noted, oh, Huey Lewis is back, and, you know, oh, does Prefab Sprout? So it's really interesting to me because I had to learn about Prefab Sprout, quite frankly. They weren't really big here in the U.S., but Huey Lewis from the Bay Area, right, we know him. Sonically speaking, was Prefab Sprout kind of the foundation for approaching that song?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're like a big
Yeah, I think they're kind of. I mean, their sounds kind of, I guess, like 80s, but like his lyrics and things are very kind of mixing up that kind of bittersweet emotional sting with very like kind of everyday lyrics. So they'll have lots of songs about kind of heartbreak, but through the context of kind of hot dogs or whatever else. So I think that was kind of like maybe more of a lyrical influence. But yeah, definitely like that kind of 80s sound. Huey Lewis is definitely like an influence, an Aztec camera. And a bit of like maybe Bruce Springsteen from like The River, something like that.
I absolutely love it, and it's definitely a prelude into the maturation of the sound for you guys. Is that fair to say, or is that just a one-off?
Yeah, definitely. I think the recording experience was pretty different for us this time around. Like it was, I guess Rob was writing the music and working on it, but we kind of built more from a holistic perspective rather than starting with a guitar, like 2 guitars and a drum kit, and trying to build from there. So it enabled us to be a lot more expansive, I think, with the like sounds and styles, and hopefully it's a bit more fun.
Condensation is another song that we've been hearing a lot of as well, and that is definitely a mixture of the old and the new.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like, I mean, it's trying to use Ben's kind of, when we started out, Ben played kind of tambourine and percussion, and then we started using a bit of synth, and now we've had like a kind of stage keyboard, so I was kind of trying to use that a bit more and get his kind of shredding a bit more on the piano in the song. So I think it's kind of worked out pretty well.
It's always been there if you look hard enough.
Yeah. Our first producer would really hate the piano Ben would play, so we'd bury it really, really deeply in the song. So if you have like an incredibly high-powered sort of stereo system, you can occasionally hear like tiny bits of piano, but in any kind of normal headphone, you would never, ever hear it.
It's interesting that we've gotten these singles so far ahead of the release. Usually it's kind of in succession, and then boom, album comes out. Is there a master plan for what this album is going to impress upon people?
I guess maybe impatience on our part. We just want to get it out. We want people to hear it. But obviously there's like a plan, and, you know, we've got to stick to it. But yeah, I think we're really aware that we've had such loyal fans, and they've kind of stuck with us over a hiatus where we hadn't played in England before this tour for like over a year. And so like they've still been super active and engaged, and I guess it's like kind of wanting to give stuff back to them.
I think we're also just waiting for a TikTok hit moment. That's a sort of that's a new strategy, you know. Everything you kind of talk about in the past will be kind of like stunts and like little dumb pranks and things or playing live. I think now it really is just like wait for the kind of TikTok gods to sort of bestow a
We're still
viral
waiting.
moment. Yeah.
What kind of stunts are you doing?
Well, we tried doing stuff. We were like carrying wine up a cliff, and Alex bathed in wine, and we tried to sell that to fans, but they were like not interested at all.
The only one that ever worked was when we played a gig in our local pub like years ago, and Ollie viciously jumped off his amp and split my head open. And so there's like a video of me playing with blood coming down my face, and people love that. But yeah,
They like the gore. and
yeah.
the
So
blood.
that's kind of been suggested that we revisit and recreate that. But I think we're gonna have to find a new band member.
What do you think the growth is, or if you can listen to, you know, earlier works from Deep Down Happy and into the new album, you know, from Camel Crew to Condensation, for example, what's the arc in terms of the growth, would you say?
I guess it's kind of moved, like as I was saying, it's kind of moving away from just being. I think we always used to start from that kind of like 6-person setup. So you start playing with like two guitars, and you can always hear like 2 guitarists, a bass, a drum, and like a kind of bit of synth. And I think with this record, it was kind of being a bit more like a bit less worried about having all of those things on every song. So it's kind of more like, I feel like it was probably more just deleting a lot of stuff than it was getting more complex. You know, it was kind of actually like, as much as the sound is maybe more mature, I think a lot of that is actually just from like being like, okay, we don't need like 18 guitar riffs and, you know, all the rest of it on every single song. So
Almost simplifying the process.
yeah,
in a
I
way.
guess so. Just being a bit less worried about, like I think we always used to play in like when we did the first record, we were playing in like tiny pubs, you know, it'd be sort of like 80 people. And so you always, and they, you know, no one's heard any of the music, so you just want to like have that kind of fast-paced thing where you can kind of dance, and it kind of sounds punky, I guess. Whereas with this one, it feels a bit more like, okay, that stuff's kind of there already on Spotify, so we can make stuff that's more for like sitting around and drinking chamomile tea.
What's Boys These Days a reference to?
Modern masculinity, full stop. We always struggle to kind of reverse engineer the answers. Rob's deep web mind.
Is it a lyric?
Yeah, it's a lyric. It's in a lyric, but I guess it's kind of like, I think it's that kind of State of the Union style phrase, you know, where it has like kind of a very open-ended meaning. It kind of sounds like the start of a kind of headline, or yeah, I don't know. I guess it's kind of deliberately open-ended. It could be like the start of a criticism or a positive thing, and it's got a kind of, I think it kind of felt like a kind of Cure title to me in my head when I heard it, and I was like, okay, it's kind of like Boys Don't Cry or something.
And I think that the song that it comes from as well is it's like character based, sort of like very you can kind of cynical tone of like, you know, I guess intergenerational commentary, and yeah, there's all sorts going on with the song. So I think hearing the album title and then hearing the song possibly adds new shades and sort of like potential meaning as well, which is quite fun to play around with an audience and not be too definitive about what it actually is or means.
Okay, all right. A lot of things going through my head right now, especially with the state of U.S. politics and the influence it has across the world, which is just, you know, it's just so interesting to see. So really stoked for the album. I'm glad you guys are okay and doing the thing, and I'm really excited to see the new songs performed live. Really appreciate the time.
Amazing.
Thank you
Cheers,
very
mate.
much.
Lovely to meet you.
It's the sports team right here on B-Sides.